Welcome back. You are in for a treat today because we have a guest with us who not only means so much to me, but we know that after listening to this beautiful human today, that she and her work is going to mean a lot to you.
Yes, I'm so excited. Rachel Madorsky, it's an honor to spend this time with you. It's been a while, but seeing you brings back so many memories. We talked at the beginning. You and I haven't actually technically met, but I was in a retreat where you did some improv, and I know that this is going to be such an important pod for all of our listeners, and I'm thrilled that you're here.
Thank you both for having me. It's great to be
Yay.
here.
Yay.
Love having you. So before we jump in, Lisa and I want to share more about you because it's impressive and because we both remember the impact you made on people, whether Lisa met you or not. She remembers seeing you in a room full of people, and we'll get into all the things about your background that make you so wonderful. But you had a huge impact on so many people that we trained with. So Rachel Madorsky is a best-selling author, a psychotherapist, and an executive coach who helps women entrepreneurs, visionaries, and CEOs experience more love, ease, and wealth in all of its forms.
Her best-selling book, How to Love Yourself in Less Than a Week, and also for the rest of your life, was chosen by Ellen DeGeneres for Ellen's at-home gift box and recently awarded Best Gift Book by the International Book Awards.
So cool.
Recognized by Influence Digest as one of Austin's top 15 coaches, Rachel's insights and teachings have been featured in Forbes, Psychology Today, CBS News, The Learning Channel, and South by Southwest Interactive. That's cool.
It's awesome. I first got to know Rachel when I was studying the transformational coaching method with Holistic MBA, which became HCI, where Lisa and I also met. And we connected at a retreat, and then we did some skills labs together. And from there, I just watched an already super successful therapist, as well as improv teacher, and what do you call it? Like improv player, improv. I don't know what you
Performer,
performer.
comedian.
Yes,
You make up
yes.
whatever word you want because it's improv.
Yes. But I just got to just watch in awe as your impact grew bigger, and just your heart for what you wanted to bring to the world was just, really booming out there. And watched as you melded all these worlds together to provide powerful coaching platform that brings love and abundance to all the people she works with and writes for.
So we
Yeah.
always love to ask our guess how that feels to hear that. Like what are you receiving as we have these reflections on you?
I love this. You guys are coaching me. What does it feel like? It feels so good. It feels like, it's that it bubbles up like, am I allowed to receive that much? Is that okay? Does that sound arrogant? Does that sound like a bunch of baloney? Is that true? Is that real? Is it okay that that's real? Just all sorts of things. But ultimately it feels really wonderful and really beautiful, especially because I know you both. And Kari, I feel like I've known you for a long time, and yeah, it feels lovely. Thank you.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay, so let's start with a little more about you and how your journey brought you here to this work. Kari mentioned improv. My daughter is an actress. She did improv. She loved improv. That's a gift. That's not everybody can do yes and. So can you share about all of that and how it all fits together?
Yes, it's so funny because originally I went to undergrad to be an actor,
Okay.
and there was an improv troupe. It was Syracuse University, and I remember watching them once and thinking, I will never do that. You've got to be effing kidding me. Like, go in front of people with no script. I thought it was crazy, and I felt way too self-conscious and uptight, and that was just an absolute no. So I was trying very hard to be a very serious actor, and it was wonderful. And right when we were completing our work there, everyone was getting ready to move to LA or New York. And the truth is I just didn't feel ready. I didn't have the self-esteem. I didn't have the confidence. Both those locations felt way too scary. And I really wanted to be creative. I didn't want to wait tables. I didn't want to do something else. I just wanted to do the thing I wanted to do. And the only other thing I wanted to do almost or equally as much was help people. And I remember when I was 6 years old, someone asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a therapist and a star.
Oh
because
my
I really
God.
liked
Check,
both.
Yes. Yeah,
I really
done.
wanted both. Um, so then I started pursuing a master's in social work, clinical social work to help people. And then I had a private practice and I was being a therapist and I was really into personal growth, but I realized one day that I was actually really very depressed. And here I was, a depressed therapist. And that is, it's no fun to be depressed and it's no fun to be a depressed therapist. And I started thinking about what would be a good move to make. What could I do? And this thought occurred to me to take an improv class just because I thought it would be really good if I could laugh. So I was living in Austin at the time, and I went to a UT informal class and I took an improv class and I really liked it. And then the second class, there was a substitute teacher that just so happened to be the artistic director of Comedy Sports Austin. And he was like, you should audition. And I was like, no, but okay. And so I did, and I fell madly in love, and it became just the most beautiful opening of all things. And that's, the rest is history. Improv, helping people, coaching, feeling like that life is worth saying yes to and leaning into what's possible. So that's the medium-sized story, I guess. Long story.
Love it. That's so good.
And what's cool, I know you did other things when you were at in-person trainings for coaches with HCI, but I remember the gift of why they wanted you to lead some improv at night was to help people be a lot more present and not feel really rote, like they had to memorize how to coach people, but actually really be in the moment with people. And I
Yes.
remember so many students saying that was their favorite part of the whole event. Yeah.
Yeah, me
Thank you for
too.
saying that. That means so much to me. Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about exactly like who's listening to this. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's maybe women like us.
Yes.
But especially women that are entrepreneurs or coaches, I so recommend improvisation. Not, it doesn't matter if you ever go on stage, but there's these gems that you get to learn in such a light environment. For a lot of us who've been through a lot, it's hard to believe that you can grow exponentially through lightness and pleasure. A lot of us feel like, well, wait, if I'm really going to grow, like I have to be serious, or I have the transformation has to be as painful as the pain was. There's this sort of like unconscious belief that it has to be long and difficult. And one of the things I love about improv and even some of the way we all coach now, I think, is that you can actually heal through laughter, through putting our attention on what we would prefer. And I think improv teaches us these skills, like how to really use them as coaches and relax and trust that when we're fully present and loving each other, the right stuff is going to come out of our mouths. All that stuff.
So beautiful listening to you. It's just occurring to me that what you're teaching is knowing yourself so that you can respond instead of react. It's just
Yes,
incredibly powerful for women. You're right. I want to talk about your beautiful book, How to Love Yourself in Less Than a Week and also for the rest of your life. I love it. I have it. And I've gifted it to clients, nieces, friends. It comes to me often when I just kind of feel that, when you interact with someone you care about and you can feel how hard they are on themselves. And I'm like, I know just what to get you. I love it because it beautifully balances really easy, practical steps with loving reminders to be soft and gentle with ourselves. And I think that sounds so simple, but it is so, like, we're so conditioned not to be, especially in the world of just achievements and, and doing, we forget that, I mean, there's so much you could write about, I'm sure, but I'm just so curious, what sparked your desire to write a book about self-love?
Okay. I want to be as real as I possibly can because I think that that's where the juice is.
Absolutely.
So two things happened. One is I was moving out of working exclusively as a therapist and really into coaching. And one day I had this thought, I think it would be really nice if I could say that I'm an author, speaker, coach. And I am a speaker and I am a coach, but I haven't written anything. So I guess it's time to write something. So that's just like how that started, just because I wanted to have the word author. And then I love to take walks. I love to take walks and listen to inspiring things. And I was on a walk and I asked myself really sincerely, what is the one message that if I could give the world, like the gift I could give, what would that gift be? And immediately what came to me was how to love yourself and to take it from this often kind of what's like a platitude, like a sweet thing we say, to an actual, real, useful, tangible practice that we can have. And what would the world feel like if we were really loving ourselves? Everything would be different. Um, and I felt really excited about this. And then everything about the book just sort of came in. These doodles I wanted to draw, all these illustrations. It just was the most joyful, wonderful ride.
That sounds amazing. One of the things that I think is really interesting about the book is the reminders that love wants to be easy. I think we have this idea somewhere along the way, maybe it's movies, maybe it's society, but love's got to be hard. And I love this idea and the mind shifts that you offer, again, around making sort of simple steps to make it easy to receive love. So talk more about love and ease.
Okay. Well, I love what you're saying because let's say one possibility is some combination of a patriarchal society. And I love men. This is not anti-men, but there is this way. And also, I think we come from generations, especially as women, from women who know in their bones really hard work. And somehow along the way, we've attached working really hard with worth and working really hard with deservability, to the point where if we didn't work hard enough for it, we don't even feel like we deserve it.
Yeah.
So what's true is that sometimes we may need to work hard. I don't know, but I do know it's way less than we do.
Amen.
Yeah. And working hard,
Definitely.
right? And so working hard can mean two things. I think there's two kinds of working hards. There's one where we're literally physically working hard, too many hours, too many moments obsessing about making something perfect and good enough, all that working hard. There's another almost more subtle quality of working hard that I think we have, which is like just something that's going on internally, like, wow, I'm really making this hard. Like I'm making it hard. And both of those two things can soften. And so the first thing, if I'm still on track from your question that I hope I remember, is that the reason why love likes ease is because love doesn't have, there's nothing hard about love. If it's becoming like work to love, then something else is off and needs adjusting, not the love.
Right.
It's something else. Are we not being real enough with each other? Are we not making time for each other? Are we being too hard on ourselves? There's other things that cause difficulty, but it's not love.
Oh, that kind of makes me tear up.
Can you talk a little more about like why it's so hard for women to receive? I know you sort of touched on that just then, but that feels like a big one to go back to.
Yeah. Okay, I'm also curious what you both think about this, but for me, I think one of the worst things a woman can hear about herself is that someone thinks she's selfish. Like we are so anti-selfishness. And I think, again, we have things conflated. So if everything needs to be hard in order to be a good person, then you can see why that person needs to always be giving, because that's what we do, but the truth is there's another way to give. And I think honestly that all of us, especially women, are inherently generous. And that what actually happens is when it becomes difficult or when we start feeling resentful, it's because we've actually given too much and we haven't given enough to ourselves. We haven't been generous with ourselves. And when we are generous with ourselves, oh my gosh, our ability to give is a very different ability. What we give is better, the quality is better, and it feels better to us because we're giving from the overflow and not the depletion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about, the overflow versus the full cup. Our cup should always be full, and we're only giving from the overflow. It's interesting. I feel like more often than not, women are accusing themselves of being selfish. It's not that they're being told that, but they think they're being selfish by taking care of themselves. I mean, I know Kari does this too. Like, it is a constant conversation with my clients of like, when you put yourself first, actually everyone around you
wins.
Benefits.
Yes.
Everyone wins. But we have been so conditioned to think, because I do think our nature, we are biologically born to be generous and give a lot, be caretakers, that sort of thing, that the idea of taking care of ourselves, we just always put ourselves at the bottom of the list.
Yes. But if we, there's so much, but even, let's examine that even for a moment, why we do that. One of the whys. And I think one of the whys, if we like follow the thread, it's almost like if I give enough, then maybe eventually I'll think I'm good enough and I'll give myself my own grace. I'll love myself then. But it's a catch-22 that never resolves because that's because that's not the path. The path is, I think the path, and this is sort of what I'm willing to be a stand for, and is that I'm actually willing for you to think I'm selfish if it means that I have the most beautiful life that I possibly can.
Absolutely.
It's okay. And you're 100% right. It's not, I don't think that any of us would be calling someone else selfish. It's just that that's our fear. And it's only our fear because it's our own judgment. We only fear that because we don't want to feel selfish.
Right. It's like we think people are going to say that to us. And so we say it to ourselves first.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, oh, go ahead.
No, you
I was
go.
gonna say, I was raised and taught to like admire selfless women. That word was used. Oh, she's so selfless. So that the converse of that is like, that's how I'm supposed to be, is selfless.
It's so oppressive if you really start looking at that. Be selfless. Who would you be? I mean, you would be there only to serve. I mean, it's nothing.
A reflection of everyone else, but not yourself.
Yes. I mean, there's actually a lot of, if we were going to go down another rabbit hole, there's actually shame there.
So much.
Yeah. So, and even, I don't know, but I'm just going to take a guess that the three of us are spiritually minded. Maybe, I hope that's okay to say, whatever that means to us. I don't think ours looks the same, but we have that sense. But I do think spirituality and religion, even spirituality that's not religious, we get all these messages. It's better to give than receive. But you mentioned something earlier about receiving. And I think it's really important to speak to the distinction between receiving and taking. We get needy and start taking when we're on empty. And we can be on empty with all the money in the bank in the world or not. But receiving is the ability to actually bring in what's being given to us and feel happy about it, feel satisfied with it, to like actually have what we have. It's like having, it's the practice of having. And when we have, we do have more to give. And we do take less and we don't need as much because we're enjoying what we have.
That feels like a mic drop.
It does.
Like, that is a mind blow right there. That the idea of feeling, because I think that's the other thing too, is women think, oh, I don't want to be needy. but I love that. You're only needy when you are depleted.
Yeah, it's from lack. Needy is coming
Yeah.
from lack. Taking is coming from lack. It's because we
Yeah.
don't feel like we have what we need.
Yeah.
But giving and receiving is a circle.
Yeah. It's an energetic exchange.
Yes, and there's always plenty. I
Yes.
I again, this might sound literally selfish, but I need to share it for anyone who's like, "Wait a minute. Do you mean I can be nicer to myself and then give more easily?" Yes. What I'm able to give right now in my life is so different than what I've ever been able to give before, because the giving I do now is not coming from effort.
Mm.
It's coming, and it's not even coming from should or supposed to. It's not that I don't have those moments. I'm a human. I do. But it's coming from like, oh my gosh, I have all this. I want to do this. It's just a shift. It's just like you have a giant cake that's delicious. You want to like share it,
Right.
but you have to give yourself the cake.
Right. Right.
That's true. This goes perfectly into what I want to ask next, because, in communicating with you about talking today, you mentioned the idea, like discussing the idea that loving yourself as a practice can elevate your inner and outer life. And I loved that. I really kind of resonated with that when I read it. As coaches, obviously, we really know this. You cannot hate yourself into more success or a smaller body or a better relationship. You just can't, you can't get yourself there with hard inner monologues. Everybody's tried it and they know that, right? So can you expand more on this truth? Because I think it drives home the importance of starting with simply accepting and loving who you are right now, I'm guessing, but probably so much more.
Yes. Okay. I think the original part of this question was about how loving yourself leads to more good inner and outer. Is that kind of
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Okay. When we actually love ourselves, it's easier to receive. We don't block it. If it's easier to receive, more money can flow into our life. If it's easier to receive and it starts feeling normal to receive, then we can actually carve out more time to just relax and do what we want to do. And I believe that love and money go really well together. And one of the things I really want to be a stand for in this life, especially with women, is to help all of us make better friends with money. We're allowed to be friends with money. Money is a tool. I know you two know this inside and out, but just to speak it, money is a tool for our freedom, for our love, for our self-expression, and for our generosity. But it's for all of it. And anytime we have a judgment or a negative anything about money, we're blocking it. And so the more we can love ourselves, and I also want to make a move and say, I don't just mean with our self-talk, which is huge, and with our emotions, which is also huge, but with our actual actions, like to wake up in the morning and say, okay, somehow I only have 15 minutes to myself today. If that's the case, um, what's the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? What's the most loving thing I can do for myself today? What's the most loving thing I can do for my business? Really asking ourselves those questions and then really taking those actions. And as we do that, we cannot help but to have more good inside and out.
It's
Does that help?
crazy.
Is that okay?
So
It
good.
totally does. And it's so funny because I think of myself as someone who does do all these things. I'm pretty self-assured and I don't think I struggle with a lot of this stuff. And yet my eyes are getting really wet. Like I'm getting really teary listening to all this. And so I'm just, so I can only imagine that some of our listeners are thinking this too. And thinking like, oh my God, well, first, of course, your voice is lovely, but like listening to you, I want that. And I know it would enrich my life, but there's too many obstacles. I got this going on and that going on. I'm paying attention to my partner. I'm paying attention to my kids. I'm paying attention to my friends, my parents. I mean, we just did one on sandwich generation. So how would you convince them that the possibility of living your best life now, Kari and I always talk about your best chapter yet, right?
Yes.
Bridging that gap. I just got to announce this. I just got to presence this. I am like covered in chills right now. So there is something you are saying that is just hitting me, but bridging that gap from where you are to where you want to be. Why am I tearing up?
Yeah. Cause you feel it, you're feeling, I think
Yes.
you're feeling this like, wait a minute, I'm allowed to like love myself like a tender child. Like,
Yeah.
really? Really? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak for you. I just, it's you, I mean, it's yours to feel. But I think there's such, even those of us who work at this, there's always another level for us to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a million times better than I used to be, but I'm still being hard on myself.
Yep.
Yes, I'm 1,000 times better than then, but also this, you know, there's more. There's so much more available to us. And to answer your question, Lisa, what I would say are two things. One is I think this is probably one of our favorite reminders that small hinges swing big doors.
Mm.
And it is true. And what I love about it is you don't even have to believe me or us. All you have to do is be like, okay, I've done this so many times in my own life. I will create a hypothesis. For example, what if I can make exactly the amount of money I want to make on a very special schedule? Am I willing to be a stand for that and just see?
Mm.
And the answer is yes. I mean, I'll just say, because I hope that this is inspiring with someone. Like years ago, I remember I was sitting with a coach who I loved, and I said, okay, well, what I want to do is I want to make 6 figures, and I only want to work 5 direct coaching hours a week. And he was like, okay, let's be a stand for that. What's the most loving way to create that? And I did that. And now I have upwards of a 7-figure business on almost the exact same schedule.
Mm.
And it isn't about that. I'm just saying that's something you can have. And if you don't want that, you can have what you want. But to start right now and give yourself something right now, it's the smallest things. It's like, okay, from now on, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to do something really sweet for myself, no matter what. And I'm going to do it no matter what, as often as I can, to teach myself that I can actually love myself more and have that have a positive effect on every area of my life. So for me, that means I go sit outside in nature every morning. I read 1 page of a book that inspires me. I meditate for 3 minutes because that's what feels right to me. It, whatever it is. All right, I feel I may have gone off the rails. Where are we?
No, that was great.
This is beautiful.
Mhm.
I love it. We not so long ago had JD Rose, and I think you know her. She's, the resourced
Yes.
woman, and she talks a lot about the same thing about, women and money, and, how there's such a struggle there when there doesn't have to be. So I love how you kind of just bridge that and how love and money are connected. When there's something you wrote that really gave me chills, as Lisa's talking about her chills. So I hope it's okay if I share it, because I absolutely love it. And you said some of this today, but I loved how you put this. I love helping women say yes to themselves in every area of life, from trusting themselves more, letting go of overworking, overthinking, overstressing, and people pleasing, to recalibrating their nervous system so that they can fully enjoy their dream life, including wealth in all of its forms. I want to ask you about so much about that, but listening to you and thinking about the chills we're getting, I want to talk about, like, I'm so intrigued by the nervous system piece of it, because I think so many high achieving women, which we all work with, that is like foreign to them, thinking that they have any control over that, because of all the stuff that's coming at them. And yet you're here simplifying it so beautifully. So can you talk a little bit about that? Just about how they can start with really tapping into their own nervous system.
Yes. In any given moment, we can pause even just for a minute and notice, what does it feel like inside? What is like my inner environment feel like? I've done this, and sometimes it's like, whoa, it's real judgy in there. Other times I've done it, it's like, oh, it's really soft in there. It feels good. I feel safe. And as we know, there's three things we're always needing, which is love, safety, and belonging. And when we have those three things, we have way more control, I believe, over our nervous system, which is just a fancy way of saying being relaxed and feeling comfortable. And we need to know, I think it's really important to recognize that our outside, whatever's happening out there, does not have to dictate what we do or what's happening on the inside. It doesn't mean it's always easy, but I know I've had some moments in my life that are some of the hardest moments, but because I was willing to slow down and say, okay, this is the ride I'm on right now. I'm going to actually be with it. I could soften and relax. And like you said earlier, decide how I want to be and not react.
Mm.
We can change what it feels like inside, and it doesn't have to be based on what's happening on the outside. And all we have to do to start doing that is just practice. Slow down, give yourself a moment, make a cup of tea, even if you don't drink tea, just because it's a sweet ritual. And don't underestimate the power of these little moments. Even really quick, just to go back about money and love and how it's all connected. If you're a woman that wants to bring in more money easily, start listening for every compliment that comes your way and practice receiving it.
Mm.
Practice saying, thank you, instead of, yeah, I got it at Target.
Yep.
And
I mean,
I
I
love
like to do
Target.
both.
Yes, yes.
Thanks, it
But
has
if-
pockets.
Yes,
Totally.
right. But let it actually come in and say thank you. Receive the things that people are giving you.
Mm.
And what I'm sorry, last thing with that is that with how that relates to our nervous system is the more we do that, the more our body learns, oh, I'm actually allowed to receive this much. It's safe to receive this much. It's safe to be relaxed.
Mm.
It's safe to be calm while I'm getting 27 text messages.
Okay, that's a really interesting. First off, I agree with you 100%. I think it took me a long time to just say thank you to compliments. And it was funny. I was in Chicago a year ago, and I was with a friend, and a guy came up that he knew, and he complimented me on my outfit, and I said thank you, and he goes, "Oh, well, you're really feeling yourself." Like he meant it in a nice way, but he was so surprised that I didn't deflect and say a million other things around it, And so when I have a client or a friend who says, "Thanks, but," I'm like, no, 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 stop, just listen, just take it all in. I think that part about feeling safe is really interesting,
Mm.
and 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 feeling calm when a million things are going on. And all of this, what I'm really loving about all of this is small, 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 and practice, small and practice. You're not espousing like great, huge shifts. You're saying small things and keep practicing because it's not always going to work, but when it doesn't work, you're just practicing.
Yeah. And it might work. I mean, it might work. I think the reason why we're like skeptical about small things is we think, how can something that small make that big of a difference?
Yeah,
so
no, I'm just saying,
yeah.
like, there could be a time where, like, I always think about, I have so many clients who things are working, 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 and then they don't work. And that's a story,
Okay.
right? But at the same time, just because it doesn't work all of a sudden doesn't mean it's not working. Everything is practice. Everything.
Yes.
So that's what I like about it. There's never like, oh, I'm done. We're
Mhm.
constantly practicing at giving ourselves love, receiving love, taking care of ourselves. What works today might not work tomorrow. It doesn't mean it's not working.
Yes. And again, I am with you. I'm a human. I love my life. And like, these are the lessons that I most need to learn. I remember, when I think I was 21 and was full into personal growth work, really trying to heal and grow and be happy and be okay. And I remember this woman, I was at a course, and she leaned down and she said to me, this would all get better if you would love yourself. And I remember in that moment thinking, this woman just gave me the keys to the castle, told me the cure. And also, I wanted to roll my eyes because I had no idea what that meant. Like, great, how? How do you do that? And so, just like you're saying, each of these small things, every moment that we say could instead of should, every moment where we look for the innocence in ourselves instead of what we did wrong, these are moments that change our life. And I will also say that there are some big swings that might be worth making. We do these little ones to make it easy and move forward and flow. But also, it'd be great to make a list of everything you know in your heart you're tolerating.
Mm.
And then make a list right next to it of everything you would love instead. And that's our sacred to-do list. Those are the medium and big ones. And it's wonderful to take those swings because regardless of what happens, the self-esteem that we feel when we take a big swing in the direction of our own dreams or our own desires, it's life-giving.
Absolutely. Wow. I know that you work with women. We both work with women. Our audience is largely women, but turns out it's not all. We thought it was going to be women of a certain age. Turns out we have women in their 20s, through women in their 70s and 80s listening. But I keep thinking about my sons because I'm raising these 3 wonderful young men, and I keep thinking this applies to them too. Saying yes to yourself and knowing that's okay to want what you want and to go after it. So I hope I'm going to make sure they listen to this too, because I think this is so valuable for just anybody. And to know that like saying yes to yourself and being kind to yourself, but also taking the risks to take a big swing is ultimately the best way to love yourself.
Agreed. I love, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I don't know. It flew in and it flew out. It'll come back.
I know. I feel you on that. When you said big swing, I think about even the doing the pot. I mean, that was a big swing, and so much of what, and yet I guess I want to presence this. It is a big swing, or it was a big swing, but it didn't feel like it to Kari and I. So I think that's something else to think about when you look at what you think might be a big swing. If you kind of jump in, feet first, it turns out to not be as big of a swing as you think. And it is an important step to, as you said, the confidence building and the self-esteem building. I think so often people, and I'm going to say people, because I think men do this too, like they see what they want and they come up with a million reasons why they can't have it.
Yes.
And just kind of jumping in whole hog or both feet first or whatever, if it doesn't turn out the way you want, so be it. At least you tried. No one ever goes on their deathbed going, well, I'm glad I didn't try that,
That's true.
Yes. I love too something you said, Lisa, about the big swing, and maybe then suddenly it isn't such a big swing. I have found that some of those swings in my life felt big on this side. But the moment I decided, like, actually, this is a yes for me, it became incredibly easy. And the big swing then is really just about that the traveling and consciousness for us, whatever we got to go through inside to be like, well, wait a second, I can give that to myself. Wait a minute, I can actually give that to myself now. And then the swing doesn't feel so big at all, but how big it feels afterwards is huge, right? Like how amazing do the two of you feel about this gorgeous collaboration and creation you have?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Almost like bookends. There's the big swing that's scary. Then you say yes, and you just figure out, you do the small steps to get there, right? Like Kari and I didn't just buy 2 mics and start doing it. Like we had steps, right? And then it feels like a big swing in retrospect. But what a beautiful sort of bookend.
Yeah.
There's so much I want to go into, but I want to be mindful of time. So I think we need to have you back someday if we can get on your calendar. Because just thinking about what you said, that includes, right? Like outgrowing something you're good at to go for something else that you want. And you mentioned that
Yes.
before we hit record, which I think is so powerful. So like that's a big swing, giving yourself permission to do something different, even if you're good at what you're already doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's,
Huge.
yeah. Every time we ask ourselves, what's the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? Whatever the answer is, having the courage to even take one step in that direction is always going to pull us forward into our dreams.
Wow. You just answered a question I didn't have to ask, which is what is something you wish everyone listening would take? I bet.
Yes.
I wish that.
Yes. And that you'll be more lovable when you love yourself. It's not going to make you selfish. It's not going to make you less lovable. It'll make you more lovable to you and everyone around you. You're allowed to have it all. You're allowed to say yes to yourself. You're just full permission granted for everything. And like you said about your sons and all of us, sometimes the gift is even being able to see what it is we want. Because for a lot of us, we don't even see it yet because we're preemptively sure we can't have it.
Mm.
Yeah. Dang.
So start asking, like, okay, if I had all the courage in the world, what would I give myself? I don't have to tell anyone. I can just tell me, but start seeing what it is you would love, and you can have it. And if nothing else, buy the expensive blueberries, meditate for 2 minutes in the morning, like give yourself something sweet every day.
I love it. Carrie just went, damn.
I do buy those expensive blueberries and they're delicious.
Okay, so I love your song because I am a ginormous Hall & Oates fan. It was my very first concert when I was in the 6th grade. My mom was a huge, she had a huge crush on Daryl Hall. It also happened to be my husband's very first concert. I saw him on Private Eyes. He saw him on H2O. So there, Hall & Oates just runs through my veins. Absolutely no question. But based on the lyrics of this song, I wouldn't have picked this one. So tell me about why you picked Rich Girl.
I just love this song. And
It's
I
so
don't know
good.
if you've had this with other songs where you love a song so much and you're singing it. And like 20 years later, you're like, what am I singing?
Right?
Totally.
What am I saying? And then I looked into like what the story, it's awful, but but the reason why I love it is because it does feel good to sing.
Yeah.
But the other reason why I love it is for women, especially, I feel like it's taking back our power to have the courage to, yeah, you are allowed to be rich. And I love this line, you're a rich girl and it's gone too far. Like, no, there's no too far for me.
Yeah.
There's no
Shut up,
too
Daryl.
far. Right. It's like, to me, it's like it's an anthem that we're
It
allowed
is.
to celebrate and we're allowed to feel good and we're allowed to be rich. And that can be with money and it can be with anything else that means rich to you.
Mm.
Well, and I also like, that at some point he says you're a bitch girl. And I think like
I think he
even
says
that,
it's a bitch girl. I think he says it's a bitch girl, but I'm not sure.
It's a
Yeah.
bitch. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It is. It's a bitch. But still, even that, like, is taking all that, like, says who?
Yes.
I mean, right?
Yes. It's just sing that with attitude. It's like, it's just like let go. I think singing and dance parties are really important.
Yes.
We discovered doing karaoke on our couch during the pandemic. And that became one of my go-to songs. And it just feels good. And we're all allowed to feel good. And it's our song. Thank you to Hall & Oates, but also it's our song.
Amen.
So good.
Love it.
There's karaoke is very popular with my crew, and so is Daryl Hall and Jordan. So it made me laugh when I saw that. Rachel, I am so happy I got to spend time with you because I have missed you, and I'm so grateful for you to spend this time with us and share your wisdom because it's not just hitting deeply and emotionally, it's energizing and fun. And I think that you're about all those things. So I hope it was as fun for you as it was for us. And just thank you.
Thank you so much. I love being here. I'd love to come back. Talking to the two of you. You're both so loving and wise and open and just you've traveled far in consciousness and you can feel that. And so the conversation feels so good and like being at home. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. It's been a ton of fun. I now feel like it doesn't matter that we've never physically looked at each other and said hello. we are now connected eternally. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners about where to find you? We always have everything up in the show notes, but sometimes people just like to listen. So where can people find you? Where can they buy the book?
Yeah, if you want to stay connected, you can buy the book from my website. You can sign up. I send out a very sweet newsletter twice a month called Love Notes for Your Life and Biz. And that's at rachelmadorsky.com. The book and the newsletter and too many photos of me.
Perfect.
Beautiful photos. They're beautiful photos. Awesome.
Oh my gosh. We could do this forever and ever. And yes, once again, at one point I thought, is really early on in the interview, I thought, is this where we tell Rachel we're definitely having her back? No, this has been so much fun. Yay. All right, everyone. Well, thanks again, as always. And this seems like an absolutely perfect episode to share. So please feel free to share and like and follow and all the things everywhere we are. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.